Hello and welcome to DIY Ideas. Today I want to introduce you to patchwork. So I'm going to show you how you can get started with patchwork projects. So you can see here we have two different types of fabric that we put together, and that's basically everything that patchwork is. So I'm going to show you what we're going to need for today. So here you can see different types of fabric that we have prepped, but first we need some fabric scissors, paper scissors, measuring tape pins, also my hand gauges here, my fabric chalk, and also a textile marker that is washable. And I have here a piece of paper that I cut out as my pattern. So this can be any shape and size that you like. Here is some thread that matches some of the fabrics that we have on here. So you can see different ones that I have. You can pretty much use anything that you have or would like to use. So yeah, I have here different things. So let me just introduce the jeans fabric here in the back. Then also something a little bit thinner here that's striped. And you can also use some cotton fabric as well. And also, if your fabric is a little bit thinner than you'd like, you can of course use multiple layers or strengthen it with some other type of fabric in the back. So for patchwork, we can use pretty much any type of fabric as already mentioned. So you have here just a little selection of some of the fabric types that I have at home. But of course, whatever you have or would like to maybe upcycle even, you can try it out. What I would recommend for beginners is to choose fabric types that are similar in its stretchiness and its thickness, just because it's going to be a lot easier to work with it if the types of fabric are similar. So today I'm going to show you the simplest patchwork idea. So that's why we're doing a square shape here. And you can see here I have two different types of fabric, but they are both out of old jeans that I can't wear anymore. So you can see we have the blue and the dark, almost black color. So we're going to use these two for today. So as I said, the most important thing is the stretchiness, so these are similarly stretchy. And then we're going to take our piece of paper that we measured, and the size here is completely up to you. Mine is about 13 times 13 centimeters. And I calculated in the amount of space for the stitches that I'm going to need, so the squares are going to be a little bit smaller than what you see right here. So always make sure to make your square a little bit bigger than what you want to get in the end. And if you stick with squares, which means both sides, both the height and the width, the same size, it's going to be a lot easier to get started with patchwork if you've never done something like this before. So of course you need to plan how big you want your project to be and how much fabric you have, and if those two match. So here is what I have, and we're just gonna practice today, so I'm not gonna do a really big piece, but rather just show you. So this is gonna be something like a basics video. If you have less fabric than you'd like to, maybe your pieces need to be a little bit smaller, or you need to find another type of fabric to work with too. So if you don't have a lot of fabric, you can still kind of calculate how many squares you can get. So here we're gonna work with all of the fabric that we have, which means here we can do 2 squares, and we're just gonna make it work to the best of our ability and cut the pieces out so that we can then put them together. So yeah, I'm basically gonna mark, and you can use your fabric chalk or your textile marker or whatever else you have, and cut it out later, and then when I do that, I'll be back. So here you can see that I planned for the square size before I got started, since here we have a stitch on my black leftover of my jeans, leftover piece. So you can see why I planned for 13 centimeters, just so I can get enough squares to work with. You can also plan to incorporate the stitched part if you'd like, or even pieces like this. You can definitely use them in patchwork as well. So I'm gonna change this up just so I get this checkerboard style. So we're gonna have one black and one blue on top, and one blue and one black on the bottom. So what we wanna do now is connect all of these sides so that we have one piece of fabric instead of 4. Of course, here you can choose if you'd like the texture to be kind of horizontal or vertical if your jean type shows the direction. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can. So yeah, that's also something to think about before you get started with the stitching. So we're gonna put the 2 top pieces first together, and then the bottom 2 as well. And then what we're gonna do is put those 2 bigger pieces together. I think that's the easiest way to get started. And then of course you could do longer stripes with multiple pieces. So what we're gonna do is put this pretty side on pretty side like this. Then we're gonna pin the side that we want to stitch, and then comes the stitching part already. So stitch here, regular straight stitch, nothing special, and then we're gonna move on from there. That's all that you're gonna need. Then we're gonna have this piece done like that, and the other 2 sides, of course, can be added with more squares if you have them. Also make sure that your distance is approximately the same if you're doing multiple pieces. So if you're doing about 1 centimeter away from the edge, that's what should be the distance with all of the pieces, so that your bigger pieces or stripes align later. You can, of course, optionally do a zigzag stitch to make sure that nothing rips or frays later, depending on the type of fabric that you're using. So what you can do is just kind of go over these open edges right here, as I said, to prevent fraying. It might be a little bit difficult if you're doing both at the same time, but you can definitely do them separately as well. So now that we have the 2 pieces done, what we're gonna do is iron over these just so we make sure everything is as straight as it could be, so that we can put everything together nicely and nothing gets wrinkled. Now the next step is to put these 2 bigger pieces together, and what we're gonna do is the same thing as before, pretty side on pretty side. Here, make sure that your stitches are aligned. So where your fabric meets, the line between the 2 halves should be aligned with the 2 bigger pieces. I hope that makes sense. And you can also check on the corners if everything's looking good, and then you can pin, and we'll also do the same stitching process as before. Again, we're doing a straight stitch here, and optionally, if your fabric tends to fray a lot, then you can do an extra zigzag stitch with the two edges that still stay open. So now that we've done this stitch as well, this is what we should have in the front and back. You can see here that I did the extra zigzag stitches just to make sure it all stays in place later when I use it for another project. So yeah, this is what we have for now. Let's iron over it. And you can see the finished patchwork, and I'm really excited because all of the lines are really exactly where they should be, and the back is also really neat, so it looks good from both sides. So this is just some patchwork basics. Of course, you can make this way more complicated, but I'm gonna show you some projects with patchwork that I did before that you can see here on this link. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's project. Feel free to shoot a thumbs up if you did to let us know. If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe to our channel. And if you do, make sure to click on the notification bell as well. That way you'll get notified every time we post something new. So thanks for watching DIY Ideas. See you next time. And until then, have a great day. Bye.